to hear a revolution in talk radio, Liberty Talk Radio, where the critical thinking will defrag your mind of propaganda-ridden viruses induced by mass media news programming. No BS here, just the facts.
And now we present to you America's quintessential iconoclastic anomaly. Wow. In talk radio, your host, Joe Cristiano.
Welcome, everyone, to Liberty Talk Radio. I'm your host, Joe Cristiano. Today, our guest was to be Michael J. Murphy. He's a multi-award-winning director and producer, political activist, and president of the Coalition Against Geoengineering. Unfortunately, an emergency came up, and he is unable to be with us. So for the next 45 minutes, you will have to contend with me. Don't touch that dial. Stay with me, okay? So we do apologize for that. This occurred just 3 minutes ago, and beyond everyone's control, unfortunately. We will have Michael Murphy back on our program. He'll be a guest as soon as we have an open slot. And that date is yet to be determined, but it'll probably be within the next month. But let me take this opportunity to discuss a few issues that are still floating around in television land and in political land, and that we just don't seem to understand. All right. For example, if someone was to categorize me, and forget about libertarianism, because no one understands what that is. Very few people. In fact, there's even disagreements within the libertarian community as to what it really means. But if you ask the man on the street libertarian, you know, I used to say this when I was on 1170 KFAQ, it's like someone thinking libertarianism is sort of a gay guy walking around the street in his underwear. You know, I mean, they have no idea what that is. They have no concept of what libertarianism, or you can say, well, I'm a classical liberal. No one understands what that is either. And so most people categorize me as a conservative. Well, actually, I'm a liberal. Now, when I say that, the first thing people are confronted with, well, geez, he must be in favor of all these government programs. He must be voting for or favor someone like Hillary Clinton for office, and nothing can be further from the truth. What's really interesting is that when you think of a pure liberal, a true liberal, you're talking about someone who's actually ultra-conservative. And this is why all these names mean absolutely nothing. They have been homogenized and regurgitated and redefined to define what people want other people to perceive them to be. Let me get this straight. When people say, "What are you?" I say, "I'm a liberal." They say, "Oh, you're voting for Clinton?" I say, "Oh no, I'm not. I'm not a socialist or an oligarch. I'm a liberal," and people have a very difficult time understanding that. I said, "No, I'm not a socialist. You know, I'm not a communist. I don't believe in oligarchies. So no, I'm not voting for Hillary Clinton. I do not agree with anything that she says," and this confuses people. They say, "Well, she's a liberal." Well, she's not a liberal. She's what they call a progressive. Now, that's an interesting term because who wouldn't want to be a progressive? Would you want to be called a reactionary? No, of course not. Progressive sounds so good. Oh, I'm a progressive. I've been to progressive meetings where they had speakers and whatever, and people are so proud to be progressives. And if you ask them what that means, they haven't the foggiest idea, but it sounds good. Doesn't progressive sound a lot better than conservative? Conservative means old stodgy people with cigars, multimillionaires, you know, trying to manipulate the masses for their own benefit, financial gain. I mean, this is the impression that we get. So I tell people I'm a liberal, and then when they try to qualify it, then I requalify them as well. So let me put it this way. I'm a classical liberal, which means very simply that I believe that we are endowed with some inalienable rights, just like our Declaration of Independence and Constitution says, and that no one owns us. We are free people. We are all free. No one owns you but you and your creator, and whomever that may be. Now, when it comes to religion, I will be very frank. I have been unable to grasp the concept of God. So I don't belong to any religion because I can't grasp the concept. Maybe I'm just not as smart as the average person, but I can't grasp it. I'm not denying the likelihood that there is a God. I deny none of that. I deny no one their religion. I just have never found it truly in my heart to say, I believe this because I know it to be true. I have never been able to get that far. And maybe I'm just not as smart as the average person. But let's get back to the political arena. All right? So here I am, a classical liberal, meaning that I should be free to do whatever I want to do, provided I do not infringe upon the equal rights of others. Now, that's the same definition of a libertarian, right? And our Constitution is very libertarian, but we never mention that. But I'd like to mention just a few subjects beyond that. Right? I just want you to know who I am and where I am coming from. I'm not anti anything. I want people to know who I am. All right. I know recently in the newspapers and the mainstream media, you hear a lot about Bruce Jenner and people saying, well, should that be allowed? And I mean, quite frankly, it means absolutely nothing to me. He could have converted himself to be a dog. I don't care. It's none of my business. He has the right to do whatever he wants to do, provided he does not infringe upon the equal rights of others. So, for example, he was a guy person, and now he's sort of a girl person. How does that affect me? Nothing. Absolutely zilcho. Now, you could say, well, I was a Bruce Jenner fan, and now I'm disappointed and all that. Grow up. I mean, I'm disappointed every day. I want people to do certain things every single day, and they don't do them. They do what they want to do, but that's life. I don't get mad. I mean, that is life. But they have the absolute right to do that. Now, once you start thinking that way, then you have to wonder, you say, well, if that in fact is true, if that's in harmony, with the law of nature, with Mother Nature herself, all right, where's the role of government? Well, you see, there should be no role of government. We have been indoctrinated to believe that in order for us to exist as a society, we need a strong central government controlling everything. Controlling our behavior, having laws and regulations and licensing so that everything is done properly. And that violates everything that a libertarian believes in, violates the law of nature in and of itself, and puts all the power in the hands of a few people who maintain that power because since they have the power, they get the money when they run for office, they get the hundreds of millions of dollars, and this becomes a perpetual machine where the same people or relatives or friends or associates of these very wealthy people in office perpetuate this type of oligarchy that we have today. Now, let's get something very, very straight. Let's understand one thing. Now, people say, oh, we're the freest, most wonderful country in the world. That's a lot of garbage. We're one of the less free countries in the world when it comes to in the modern world. We are the most controlled country in the world, one of the most controlled countries in the world, and yet we don't realize it because our freedoms have been eroded slowly over decades. And as they become eroded, we become accustomed to what we had before, and we use that as a benchmark. And as we move forward with the erosion of even more liberties, what happens is that becomes the new benchmark. There will be a time when if we want to go to the store to buy a container of milk, we'll need permission from the government, and we'll consider that, well, you have to have that. I mean, can you imagine people just walking into a store and buying a container of milk? You'd have chaos. You need to have permission to do so. We will literally get to that point, and we're not too far from that. I know it sounds silly, but that's exactly where we are going. You see, we do not have a republic, a democratic republic. We have an oligarchy. We have a group of people who are truly in charge. Now, surprisingly, the people who are in charge are not the people that we are electing. The people we elect work for those people who are in charge, and those are the world bankers and the military-industrial complex, the people who own the large corporations and control most of the money flow. Now, I know this is unnerving. This sounds like wacko stuff, conspiratorial stuff, but this is the way it is. You think for one moment that Barack Obama's in charge? Do you think he is really the president? Well, if he was really the president and he adhered to the Constitution, what would he do? Well, he would only do one thing. His only one job is to make sure that the Congress and the judiciary don't perform any function or enact any laws that are unconstitutional. In other words, he's a stop guy. He's our protector. He's our traffic cop. He's saying, hey, guys, you want to give money to, this country for this war? Sorry, that money belongs to the citizens. I'm vetoing it. That's what his job is, and that's his only job. In the early years of the American Republic, the president actually had absolutely nothing to do. And that was actually correct. He has absolutely nothing to do. People say, oh, the president, what would we do without a president? We would do fine without a president, provided we didn't have a Congress going haywire. In fact, there are stories of our early presidents, including George Washington, literally getting up in the morning, sitting on the front lawn, on a bench, by the sidewalk and front lawn, people passing by saying, hello, Mr. President. Hi, how you doing? How you doing? Having a cup of coffee. And that was it. I mean, that was his day. In fact, in our Constitution, it's written that Congress meets I think the second week in December of every year, because there was a concern that people would be elected to office, never go to Washington, never meet, and never get anything done that maybe should be done. So they were being forced to go to Washington at least once a year, second week in December, to meet. And I don't know the number of days, maybe 2 days or whatever, all right, just to make sure there's no unfinished business. Now, today, if a congressman doesn't spend a majority of his time in Congress enacting laws and voting on all of these proposals that restrict our liberty, he's considered a do-nothing congressman. Now, the reason why a congressman only have 2-year terms was because they were supposed to be filled, those seats were to be filled by the common man, the farmers, the store clerks, just regular, everyday workers, laborers and whatever, and they would serve this function for 2 years because they had families and businesses. They could not afford to be away from their family and businesses for more than 2 years. So they would be for 2 years, and after 2 years, it was over. And what do we do today? Today, they go into office after the election, which takes a good year and a half of campaigning, and the second year of their tenure, of their term rather, they spend doing nothing but collecting money and campaigning for the next term. And then these congressmen are in office for decades. All right? So you see what's happening. In other words, we have people in office, embedded in office, controlling the purse strings of our government, and not only of government, of us, our money, because our government can't make money. They have to take it from us. They dictate exactly how I spend a good portion of my money. Just think of that for a second. Just think of that. You elect people to go into office to represent you, to determine how they're going to spend your money. Would you entrust that to anyone? Think about it. Just think about that for a second. Yeah, I want to elect this person. I'm going to find in fact, my board operator here, the most responsible person in the world, he's laughing,
Yeah, right.
You're responsible, aren't you?
Sure.
Yeah. He guaranteed. He just guaranteed me that I want to give him all my money because I want him to be responsible. Would you be responsible for my money?
Sure, I definitely would.
Yeah. And now you would spend it, and every dime would be spent to my benefit. Is that true?
Every dime.
Every dime. Yeah. You see, he lies as much as our congressmen do. And in fact, In fact, giving it to my board operator, I would be panhandling within 2 weeks. I can guarantee. I love the guy, but I'd be panhandling. Would that be true? About 2 weeks?
Well, you would definitely be driving around in a Ferrari, probably. But yeah, sure. Yeah,
driving in a Ferrari, which I have to pay for, that he'll borrow to go on a date with. Okay.
Right, yeah.
Now, we understand each other. That's fine. But you understand what I'm saying. But the American mentality is such in which we look up to our political leaders. No. That's all wrong. We do not look up to anyone other than ourselves. Our political leaders look up to us. I give absolutely no more respect to our political leaders than I do to the guy who works in Walmart and checks me out. Which, by the way, there's very few of those left because they're going to $15 an hour. And the Walmart near my house, guess what, has all the automatic checkout counters now. So they don't get paid anything. $15 an hour, wonderful. In fact, they can pay the checkout people $100 an hour. Ain't no one there, no problem, but they look good. I got that scam going. But you see my point. My point is that we are the ones that are to be in charge. And we are now living in a country where we have absolutely it seems we are losing constantly our rights, our basic freedoms. There's a gal, she's 6, 7, 8 years old, whatever, next door to where I live, and she's selling lemonade. And she asked if I wanted lemonade. Now, I remember back when I sold lemonade, it was a nickel, all right? And it was a small glass lemonade for a nickel, and I thought that was a lot of money. She charged 50 cents. Well, that's inflation for you folks, But don't blame me. Blame the people you vote for. Blame the people you vote for. Blame the Federal Reserve. Understand who your enemy is, okay? Well, I bought of course, I bought the lemonade because she's a nice girl. We were friends with the family and the whole bit. And I came home and I said, do you know if someone passed by of authority in our political system, they'd probably put this girl in jail because she doesn't have a peddler's license or whatever, or a license to sell. She's not approved by the Department of Health and all that. And all of us, most of us, sold lemonade, in front of our houses to make a few bucks to buy some bubble gum with the baseball cards in it and stuff like that. No one thought anything of it. And yet today, this girl would probably be, serving 5 years in jail for that, and the parents would be thrown in jail as well, or fined, or whatever they do today. But you see, we are losing our freedom, and we are looking more and more toward the people who are taking the freedom away from us, and we are asking them for a solution. We keep on voting for them because these are the people who are going to solve the problem, but keep on taking the way they solve the problem is that they remove more freedom from us and they give it to themselves. They empower themselves and enrich themselves, and then they subjugate us. And then what we do to solve the problem, we vote for them again. I love when Gerald Celente ends most of his broadcast and he says, don't forget to vote, And what he means facetiously is that you vote, you deserve it. I don't vote. Now, I would vote if there was something like a Republican, Democrat, and any independents plus none of the above. Then I would vote, because you know what I would do? Unless there was an independent who was truly freedom-minded, if there was none, I'd say none of the above. And you can imagine what would happen to the percent of voters who are not voting now who would vote. I would say we'd go from, I think it's like 57%, Preston, 57% of the people vote right now, something like that, right? Something like that. Right?
Yeah.
And instead of 57%, I can guarantee you it would be in the high 80s, if not in the 90s. Unfortunately, our elected officials who work for us don't want to see that on the ballot because they know they would be thrown out of office, because they know how rotten. They know by giving us an option that can remove them from office. So they say either vote for me or be un-American and don't vote. No, let me tell you something, folks. When you vote for the lesser of two evils, and you've heard this 1,000 times before, you are voting for evil. I don't care which side of it. You say, well, this is a left evil, a right evil. center evil, compromising evil. Evil is evil. I mean, what is there to know about that? And it seems that we can break this down into very, very simple terms, right? Don't vote, divorce yourself from the system because your political system has divorced itself from you. Your political system, your people in office. Now, there are a few people who are fighting. They get absolutely nowhere because they're working in a corrupt oligarchy. And, their voices will be heard and just enough to make you feel as if there's someone doing something for you, right? But since they have divorced themselves from you, you have the right to divorce yourself from them. It's like if you're married to a woman, and good thing I'm not in this shape because I'm still madly in love with my wife, and we have a wonderful, wonderful relationship. I think the world would be a fantastic place if every couple had the relationship my wife and I have. It's really remarkable, and I owe it all to her. All to her. She keeps me together. I'm always falling apart. She's always gluing me back together again. She's the most wonderful person in the world. No better person in the world. She's an angel. But you can imagine if a guy's married to a woman and a woman says, I want a divorce, I've been cheating on you all along, I have boyfriends on the side, we're having a great time, you're no fun, you just go to work and help raise the kids, you're a bum, I don't like you, well, what are you going to do? Well, you say, now I know you've been cheating on me, just like our politicians have been cheating on us. I want a divorce, or I want out of this relationship. Now, why can't we, if we divorce ourselves, and the divorce rate here in America is isn't it over 50%, Preston? It's over 50%. I know Preston, our board operator, knows everything. This guy is an encyclopedia, whatever, right?
Well, I'm divorced. So
you're divorced. Yeah. Well, he knows everything.
I'm just a statistic now. Yep.
Yeah. How many times have you divorced? 10 or 12 times?
No, just once.
Just once. Okay.
Married once, divorced once.
Okay. All righty.
I'm single, by the way.
Now, I didn't marry your wife.
Out there.
I didn't marry your wife, did
No,
I?
you did not.
I did not. Okay, just wanted
and
to
your
get that
wife
square.
is a saint to put up with you, so I think so, yeah.
But you see that we should ask for a divorce, and that's all I'm asking. This is what this program is about. We want a divorce. We want to divorce ourselves from the political oligarchy, and we want to adhere to the basic principles of our Constitution, which is libertarianism. Very simple. What's so difficult about it? And these wacko liberals and the wacko conservatives, they're all wackos. And I'm not going to pick on people themselves, but the whole concept is wacko. My son is one of my sons, he's just a diehard conservative. He hates my program, But I cannot see past the ideology that's been imprinted in his mind and he's been indoctrinated into, and he can't discuss it. I have friends that are diehard liberals, and I want to talk about two issues now. Now that you understand where you should be, you should all be. Let's get the term libertarian out. Let's just put it aside, put it in a drawer for a while. I mean, you use it if you want, but everyone who is in fact a champion of individual liberty and against the abuses of an oligarchic government is in fact a classical liberal. Now, when it comes to war, if you enact a war overseas and violate the sovereignty of another state, or take the money, extract money from the individuals, the community at large in your country, take that money, build bombs and weapons of destruction, and give it to another country to kill other people, would that be consistent with a classical liberal ideology? Well, of course not. But we don't look at it that way. We look at it as if just like the oligarchy tells us, the reason why we make those bombs and those airplanes and whatever else they make, the tanks and the Humvees, is so that it is to supply military aid to who we consider the good guys that are in bed with our oligarchy, right? So we can continue to control that country. We don't say that. We say, well, that's to protect our freedom. And we go, we have to supply them. We have to supply this group because if we didn't, our freedom would be shot. Well, none of that makes any sense. No one's ever been able to draw a line between the two, but we believe it because we have become to a point where we listen to our elected officials, believe everything they say, and then we react accordingly. And by the way, folks, I would love to hear someone challenge me on this. I won't be too nasty. No, I won't be nasty at all. But you can call us 646-652-4620. Now, we have a toll-free number, too. You have that number? Can you put that toll-free number up? Nope, that's the wrong one. That's the wrong. Oh, you don't have it. Well, that number's still live, but call us on 855-866-1170 or that number you saw on the screen. We are changing toll-free numbers, and we haven't changed our board yet. All right. But please give us a call on 646-652-4620. Let me hear from you, and really, we'll have a nice conversation. I won't bite anyone's head off or anything like that. Now, here are a couple before we go any further, let's stop for a quick minute of station identification, and please listen to our sponsors, and don't go away. Please do come back to Liberty Talk Radio. I have 2 issues that I want to bring up, and I'd like you to hear them, and I'd like your feedback. Hold on, don't go away.
You're listening to Liberty Talk Radio. Political talk derived from a historical perspective. Not always palatable, but good food for thought. Pure libertarian talk with host Joe Cristiano. LibertyTalkRadio.com.
Express Test is your go-to company for on-site occupational health testing services. That's right, we said on-site. That means we will meet you at your facility for a free health and occupational safety consultation. Express Test specializes in hearing conservation, respiratory protection, and employee safety. We can help you establish viable programs tailored to your business and employee needs. For your free consultation, call 918-743-2929 or visit us at expresstest.com. That's 918-743-2929 or expresstest.com. Do you find yourself asking, what did you say? Aaron Cristiano of Ranch Acres Audiology has over 25 years of experience helping patients just like you.
Hearing requires conservation. We need to be aware and we need to be responsible for our own hearing health.
Understand more with a little help from Ranch Acres Audiology. Call 918-749-7711. That's 918-749-7711 to learn more. We'd like to thank attorney Constance Squires for her support of Liberty Talk Radio. If you want a comprehensive way to affordably avoid legal issues, call Constance Squires. For a free consultation, call 918-254-9283 or go online at isthyWillDone.com.
Steve Harden of the Harden Insurance Agency has over 30 years of experience designing family insurance protection, including retirement planning. Call 918-488-0024 or go to hardenagency.com and request a free in-depth estate and retirement evaluation. We look forward to earning your trust and helping you meet your life goals.
This isn't your typical talk radio show. This is Liberty. Liberty Talk Radio.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Joe Cristiano. You're listening to Liberty Talk Radio. Our guest today, Michael Murphy, the author of What in the World Are They Spraying and in the World Are They Spraying, was to be our guest today. Unfortunately, he was unable to make an emergency came up, so we will have him back on a little later date. We really regret that. We apologize for it. We, of course,
I was looking forward to that. I mean, because the why are they spraying, and then what are they spraying?
Yeah. Well,
I'd like to know.
You know what's interesting, though. I want to. Although I don't want to take any of the wind out of his sails when he's on, but although the government would love to just deny what they're doing, in fact, what it is a fact is that when we were in Vietnam, we used geoengineering and chemtrails in order to encourage rainfall over North Vietnam. And the reason for that is that when it rained, it made it more difficult to transfer heavy equipment and supplies from North Vietnam to South Vietnam because most of the roads were dirt roads, right?
Okay.
So,
Makes sense.
For example, we always had the technical advantage during the monsoon season because they couldn't move any goods. So when it dried, we realized that troops and everything and supplies would come down to South Vietnam from North Vietnam. I said, hey, why don't we just make it rain more? And we actually embarked on geoengineering or chemtrailing during Vietnam. Now, folks, that's 50 years ago we did that. So to deny that we do that this doesn't exist, is denying that the world is round. I mean, it is. The thing is, no one wants to talk about it. And this goes back to what I was saying before, is that if you are in fact a true freedom fighter, you're a classical liberal, right? That means you believe that no one owns you. You believe in the law of nature, basically, the law of freedom. No one owns you. No one tells you what to do, provided that you do not infringe upon the equal right of others. When we went to Vietnam, did we infringe upon the equal rights of others? Ask yourself that question. Oh, yeah. Oh, we only killed about 2 million Vietnamese that were mostly just farmers and did nothing with defending their own land. And we killed a couple of million people, but they're Vietnamese. No, they don't even count. You know, this is the American mentality, which I abhor. It's horrible, you know. And what's really interesting is that, you know, we think we're such a benevolent country. When fighter pilots and soldiers that fought in Vietnam, some go back and are compelled to go back because they feel so guilty. And when they went back, they expected to be literally tortured. And yet they're treated with the utmost respect. I cannot conceive that. I cannot envision that. Could you imagine after bombing and defoliating one of the most beautiful countries in the world, defoliating it, talking about, global warming, get rid of all the green, that's what we did. And because we had an absolute maniac for a president, and of course that was Johnson, but yet we were in Vietnam all the way back to the Eisenhower era, so they're all to blame for this. They go back and they get treated with respect, with honor. I can't grasp that. Now you can imagine if they did that to us, and one of their fighter pilots came to the United States, we'd hang them. I mean, the guy, I would not encourage him to do that because we would not treat them with respect. The person would have to be in incognito constantly just to go to the store to buy a loaf of bread. And yet we see the world in this prism which skews about everything, all the facts at all, and then it sort of redefines everything, and that's what we say the world is like, and it's not. We have to be, in effect, one of the most ignorant, not stupid now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying stupid people, ignorant people. We are so divorced from reality. Just yesterday, in fact, even this morning, I got up really early and I was listening to Russian television. And I'll tell you why I listen to Russian television. I understand that Russian television will not be disrespectful to Putin. And I don't expect them to say, look at all the horrible things that are going on in Russia, and this is how poorly the people are treated. But what they do is they allow those people who are Americans that have a voice and they have a point to make, and it could be negative, but are not allowed to voice their opinion on American television. They can voice it on Russian television. Now, I understand it's skewed because they're allowing the negative, which is usually the truth, more so the truth than what we have here, to be voiced on a mainstream media, right? At the expense of, God forbid, you disagree or are disrespectful or to Putin. Abby Martin left because I think she made some comments, and I'm not really sure about the whole story, and I'd love to have her on the program because she's a really, really good, excellent broadcaster, albeit a little bit too, I wouldn't say liberal because I am a liberal, but she's a little bit too socialistic from my point of view. But many of her points were well taken, and she's a very, very talented woman. I'd love to have her on the program. We're going to see if we can get her on. And I think she left because of the pressure that was put on her because she was kind of she was criticizing some of the policies of Russia, and so that cuts both ways, and I understand that. So please don't write in and say, well, do you know that they do? Yes, I do. I know that. But what I do hear is I do hear people who want to speak against what is going on here. And these intelligent people, these people are not just wacko people in the street that have nothing better to do. These are knowledgeable people who want to voice their opinion about things that are going wrong here. In fact, this morning, Pete Lavelle had a conversation with 3 other individuals, all high-powered individuals, that wanted to discuss the Snowden affair and the Freedom Act and the Patriot Act. We would not do that here, because we would just accept whatever our government does. And what they did is they analyzed, and they had the pros and cons, which we never do. We always only have one frame of mind. We have a caller. What line is that?
They've hung up. Never mind.
We just lost a caller because of my big mouth, and I waited too long.
No, I mean they were on. They had a question, but then I guess we've lost them.
Are they off altogether? Can you
they're off
them?
altogether. No,
okay.
They're off altogether.
Caller, whoever you were, please call back in. I'm sorry if I made you hold on too long. Right. Now, there are 2 issues I want to touch on very, very briefly. That just it drives me nuts, because I have been an employee for about half of my life. I've been a business owner for about half of my life. I've worked for small companies. I worked for Camera Store. One of me and the owner. I worked for a fully integrated oil company. Hundreds of thousands of employees, and of course I'm a business owner now. I'm an officer of a retail outlet, which we hope will grow. I own an occupational health testing company. I've opened 4 audiology offices for my wife. I've invested in businesses. I've invested in movies, and I've been in movies. I mean, I've had a diverse background. I wish I can tell you that they were all profitable, but they weren't. But at least that I'm not just coming from one school, one type of job. And that's the subject of the minimum wage. Here's my argument. If someone tells me that we should pay everyone a minimum wage, let's say $15 an hour or a livable wage, instead of asking, well, how do you determine $15 an hour? Why not 16 and why not 14? Of course, they can never answer the question. They say, well, that'll just get people started. They'll give you some flaky answer. This is the way I would respond to that. I would say to these people, let's assume for a second that you graduated college and with a degree in engineering, and it could be in chemical engineering, mechanical engineering, whatever. I mean, it's immaterial. But you had a degree in something, some technical area, and you went for a job. Would you accept a job that paid you a maximum of $15 an hour? Now, this person would say, well, of course not. With a chemical engineering degree, I would expect to get paid at least $35 an hour. I said, but wait a minute. He's paying you what you consider a livable wage. What's the problem with that? Well, they say, no, I qualify for a lot more than that because of my schooling. I said, well, then if you feel that way, and they all say the same thing, by the way, they never deviate from this. I mean, you can ask 1 million people this, you'll get the same answer every single time. I can guarantee you. And I say, well, no, with all the education and the experience that I had, and in fact, I even worked with a company while I was going to school in this field, so I have some. I don't need all that training. I've displayed my aptitude for what I'm doing, etc. So $35 an hour would be the minimum. I said, well, then what you're saying, a person should get paid according to their ability to produce. Now, once you say that, you'll hear silence. Well, sort of. Oh, I said, well, sort of what? And they say, well, sort of, but there still should be a minimum wage. Well, based on what? Well, then, based on what? What if a person has no ability at all? They dropped out of high school. They hardly could read. They have no social skills. I mean, they're arrogant, love drugs, there's illegal drugs and, you name it, all right? Now they come and they say, well, man, I want a job. Well, this person can't interact with customers, can't write very well, can't speak very well. How much do they get paid? Well, they get paid at least $15 an hour. But wait a minute, if a job is valued based on the ability of the employee, then why do we pay a person with no ability any money at all? I don't mean a minimum wage of $7 or $8. Why pay them anything at all? They go, oh, you can't do that. That's illegal. No, wait a minute. We're not talking about legal. We are talking concept here. Why do we pay them at all? Let me give you an example. I have an occupational health testing company. If in fact, do we have a caller on the line? Nope. Okay. If in fact a young man came to my company who was in that position and said, Mr. Cristiano, I really screwed up. I dropped out of school. I'm trying to learn to read myself. I really want to get my act in order. I have no skills. I want a job. I said, well, in order for me to take you in, I would have to not only train you in the traditional manner, I would have to also help you with your schooling. In other words, help you with your teaching so that you can come up to speed. And that is very costly to me. So if you went somewhere, if you went to a trade school, how much would they pay you to go to trade school? Well, the employee would say, the prospective employee would say, no, I would have to pay them, and I can't go to trade school because they're so expensive. They want like $8,000 a year. I don't have that money. I say, but you want to come to me, and you want me to train you as you would be trained in a trade school, but you want me to pay you. Do you see the logic there? You see, and now this would be my proposal. I will hire you on 3 weeks. Now, I know there's all sorts of government laws and all that. Throw all that garbage away. Just for a second. Just throw it out. Get out of your head. Get out of your head. All right. And that's out of your head. Let's talk. All right. I will hire you for 3 weeks. Our contract between you and me is for 3 weeks. You will get paid absolutely nothing. Now, after I say that, I'm going to pay the person. But I don't want them to know that. I say, I will pay you absolutely nothing. But I will get you on a learning program. I will teach you a trade. We'll have you go out on jobs. We'll observe. We'll correct anything that needs correction. We'll tell you what your high points are, your low points are, where you need to improve, everything. And so after 3 weeks, we'll have a good feel for whether or not this is the type of work that you would like to do. And it won't cost you $8,000. It'll be absolutely free of charge. Would that not make sense? And not because I'm a mean business owner that I want to subjugate the employees, but that would make sense. I mean, the option to that is say, Johnny, I'm sorry, I have to pay you a minimum of $15 an hour. That's equivalent to $30,000 a year. For the next few weeks, I'm going to be doing nothing but training. I'm going to have to take one of my technicians off of a job or to slow down on a job, just to train you while they're working, observe you, and then, God forbid, things don't work out, you go on unemployment, my unemployment insurance goes up, I have to provide you with the 401k plan that we have and the medical benefits and all sorts of stuff. I mean, you're costing me a fortune. I'm training you, and there's a good chance it just won't work out. And then I'm left holding the bag, and my cost of doing business is higher and makes me uncompetitive. So I decline your request to be an employee. Right? Makes sense. But people can't think that way. They say, well, I'm sorry, the law says $15 an hour or $7 an hour, $8, whatever it is. Doesn't make any sense. Now, I worked in a camera store, and I went there under one condition. I said he didn't pay me because I wanted to work in a camera store. I learned a lot. Folks, it's a quarter to the hour. We need to shut off early, unfortunately, today. We just intended to have a 45-minute program. This is not a sneaky thing, but unfortunately, I'd love to go on. On next Thursday, we're going to have Jacob Hornberger from the executive director or president of the Future Freedom Foundation. We're really excited to have him back. and he is one of the most knowledgeable people in the United States on issues that affect our freedom. So we do hope it'll be Thursday, 8 a.m. Central, this coming Thursday, the 11th, isn't it? The 11th, June 11th. I hope you do join us. Okay, well, we'd like to thank our sponsors for financial support, and we'd like to thank you for listening in. You can further the cause of liberty by recommending this program to your friends, and let us hear from you. Our email address is comments@libertytalkradio.com. Remember, as my wife would say, you're either allowing your freedoms to be taken away or you're striving to protect them. Unfortunately, folks, there is no middle ground. Until next time, this is Joe Cristiano. You've been listening to Liberty Talk Radio. Stay well. Stay tuned.